All right, so this lesson is Unit 7, Day 1, and we will be talking a lot about angle relationships. So let's go ahead and get started and fill these out. Let's begin. Angles can be named many ways based on their characteristics. The protractor shows the measures of many different angles. Use the diagram to answer the questions below. So, what is the measure of angle CFE? Let's take a look using our highlighter. Angle C to F to E. We need to just go ahead and measure that out. And I talked about this in class. If you were here and you're just coming back to get some extra help and see what you didn't get, you can use the top row of the protractor's numbers, or you can use the bottom row. Just whatever you use, be consistent. So if I say that this is 180, measure of 180, and this is a measure of 100, we are going to find the difference between those to figure out what our angle measurement is. So we would say the angle of 180 minus the angle of 100 gives us 80 degrees. 180 degrees minus 100 degrees gives us 80 degrees. So that's the measurement of angle CFE. All right, the next one says, what's the measure of angle AFC? So let's go ahead and figure that out. I'm going to use my highlighter again. Angle A to F to C. It looks like, now we could use the bottom row of numbers or we could use the top row of numbers. It really doesn't matter. If I say this is the measurement of 80 degrees and this is the measurement of 180 degrees, to figure out the measurement of this angle, we could take 180 and subtract 80 from it, and you will get 100 degrees. So the measurement of angle AFC is 100 degrees. All right, next one. So there's a bunch of types of angles, and some of these angles might sound familiar from 6th grade, things that you've learned before. But there are a couple of things that will be new: complementary angles and supplementary angles, and maybe even a straight angle. So we're going to review the first three and then go over the last three. An acute angle, here's a quick overview. Acute angles are cute and they're small. They look like this. Obtuse angles are larger. They have a bigger span, a bigger measurement of degrees. Right angle will be straight up and down, and it will usually have a square in it. That means, hey, this is 90-degree angle. And then a straight angle will be flat, spanning from 0 to 180. All right, so let's go over these. An acute angle is an angle that measures less than 90 degrees. So with our protractor, we need to find some sort of angle that measures less than 90 degrees. Let's go ahead and take a look. We could pick any of these, and I'm going to go ahead and erase my work from before. Now, like I said before, a right angle you will usually be able to draw a square right in the middle of it. So I'm going to give an example. The angle BFD, we can create a perfect square right there in the middle. This shows us, hey, this is a right angle. So I'm going to go ahead and just write in my notes. Oh, whoops, I'm writing on the wrong one. I guess I already jumped down to a right angle that measures exactly 90 degrees. Sorry about that. The right angle is BFD. So I'm going to write that down where it says right angle. The angle is BFD. Anyways, back to an acute angle. That's what we needed to find, was any angle that's less than 90 degrees. There's actually a lot of different answers that you could have. I'm just going to pinpoint one, maybe even two if I feel like it. We'll see how many I can point out here and still have time to write it all. An acute angle is anything that measures less than 90 degrees. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and tell you how many degrees all of these angles are, and then we can talk about it. The angle from D to E says 180 to 150. To get the measurement of how many degrees wide this is, I'm going to do the larger number, subtract the smaller number. 180 minus 150 gives me 30 degrees. So I know that this angle is a measurement of 30 degrees. Let's do the next one. From C to D, angle CFD says we'll have 100 degrees and 150 degrees. If I subtract the larger number, and I do 150 minus 100, that will give me 50 degrees. Let's do another one. I'm going to use a different color highlighter. Let's say that we wanted to figure out the measurement of this one. I could say 100 degrees minus 60 degrees, that gives me 40 degrees. So I know that this angle is a measurement of 40 degrees. And let's go ahead and do another one. The last triangle, AFB, it looks like I have 180 degrees and I have, oh, notice I looked at the bottom number. That means I have to look at the bottom number over here. 180 minus 120 gives me 60 degrees. So this triangle is 60 degrees, or this angle. I could have done, you might be wondering, I could have chosen the other numbers. I could have said 60 degrees minus 0 degrees, and you get 60 degrees. Okay, so now I have measured out all of the angles. Not that I had to, but if I had to find any angle that is acute, an acute angle, I would say, well, I noticed that this angle right here is an acute angle because it's less than 90 degrees. This angle is also an acute angle because it's less than 90 degrees. So is this one, and so is this one. It looks like they are all acute angles so far. So over here where it says acute angles, I can just write down any. I'm just going to pick one, angle C to F to D. But there's many that you could have written down. Now let's go ahead and find an obtuse angle. An obtuse angle is an angle that measures between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. It measures between those numbers. And remember, an obtuse angle is kind of going to look like this, like really wide. It's just going to be a large span. So now we need to look for some sort of angle that measures larger than 90 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and erase this so it's not too busy for you. Once again, there are 3 different answers that you could have here if you're looking for an obtuse angle. I'm going to show one of them for you. Let's use a highlighter. I could do angle BFE because look at how far this spans. It goes from 0 to 120. If I do 120 minus 0, that tells me this is 120 degrees. That is between the number 90 and 180, so this is an obtuse angle, BFE. I'm going to go write that down. That's only one of them. If I wanted to do a different one, I could. Oh, I can't believe all of this came back here. Let's erase that again. If I wanted to find a different angle that is still obtuse, I could look for any angle that's pretty large. Let's do something totally different than what we had before. I'm going to say angle AFC. That's obtuse. Or you could do angle AFD. That is obtuse as well. All right, let's take a look at another one. The next one says a straight angle. This is an angle that measures exactly 180 degrees. So let's take a look over here. It's going to be an angle that just is a straight line. Angle A to F to E will give me a straight angle, just a line. So we can go ahead and write in angle A, F, and E. I'm going to show you really quick. Angle A to F to E. My angle is 180 degrees. It's also a straight line. So I can say angle AFE. All right, the next one is complementary angles, and this is a pair of angles that have a sum of 90 degrees. That means the word sum, when you add two angles together, it will equal 90 degrees. So let's go ahead and look for something where when you add the two angles together, you get 90 degrees. Looks like I still have a bunch of scribbling on here. That is so annoying. I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to take a look at some of my older highlighting that I had. Maybe I'll use purple this time. Notice here, this angle was 60 degrees. This angle was 40 degrees. This angle was 50 degrees, and this angle was 30 degrees. I just need two angles that when I add them together, they equal 60. And it looks like, we'll use orange. It looks like if I take this angle of 60 and this angle of 30 and I add them together, that equals 90 degrees, which is a complementary angle. Complementary. That's a complementary angle. So you could write down for complementary AFB, angle AFB, and angle DFE. Those make complementary angles. All right, let's go ahead and write another one. Supplementary angles. This is a pair of angles that has a sum of 180 degrees. So let's do a quick example. When I find two angles that when you add them together, they equal 180 degrees. Oh, we can definitely find that. Maybe I can even give you more than one example if needed. Okay, erase, erase. Let's go ahead and highlight using purple. If I have an angle like this, that creates, let's see how far that spans. If I did 60 minus 0, that gives me 60 degrees. I know that one angle is 60 degrees. Now I need another angle that when I add it to 60 degrees, I will get a total of 180 degrees. It looks like if I do B to F to E, that will help me complete the 180. Let's go ahead and find out what this span is right here. If I do 180 minus 60, I get 120 degrees. Is 120 plus 60 degrees 180? Yes, it is. So that tells me it's supplementary. So I can write down those angles. There's lots of different ones. I'm going to write that down, AFB and BFE. Angle AFB and angle BFE. And for up here, we could put, I'm just going to put a quick example, an angle DFE, in case you're following along with notes. All right, next one. Writing out equations. All right, so by writing and solving equations, we can determine the missing angle measure in various angle relationships. That just means, hey, let's go ahead and figure out what this value right here is. And let's figure out what this value right here is. I know, just looking at this, if this was 0 and this was 180, they give me 136 degrees already. I need my x value to be some value that when I add it to 136, I will get 180, because that will help me create my straight angle. So here's an equation that you could use. You could say 180 degrees is equal to 136 degrees plus my x value. And some of you might have just done this in your head. I had a lot of students who said, let's just take 180 and minus 136. Well, what if I told you to solve for the equation? Solve the equation for the x value. And I said, get x all by itself. The first step that you would take you would subtract 136 from both sides. And 180 minus 136, I think that's 44. I hope so. Equals x. And so that says, hey, this value right here is 44. Let's go ahead and double check. Is 136 plus 44 equal to 180? Perfect. That's how I know that I did my math right. Let's go ahead and move on to number 2. I know that this angle right here, just because it has a square in the corner, that tells me this is a 90-degree angle. I know my 90 degrees is going to be equal to that 74 degrees plus that x value. So let's go ahead and solve for x. I'm going to subtract 74 from both sides. And let's see what I get. 16 is equal to x. And that is true. So looks like we did it correctly. It's true because 16 plus 74 will give us 90 degrees. So we know we did it correctly. All right, next one. Question number 3 says, find missing angles below and be sure to justify your answers using specific vocabulary. On number 3, it says that M. That means the measure, I'm just going to write this down in case you want to know. The measure of angle 1 is equal to 42.8 degrees. That means this angle right here is 42.8 degrees. And we need to figure out what the next angle for our second angle is. So I'm just going to put an x there. If I were to write an equation, I would say, just because I see that little square in the corner, I know this angle is 90 degrees. And I'm going to set this equation equal, my 90 degrees equal to my first value that I know. I know angle 1 is 42.8 degrees, and if I add the second angle of x, I will get 90 degrees. So let's go ahead and solve this. I want to get x all by itself, so I'm going to subtract 42.8 from both sides. And x is equal to, I think it's like 47.2. Let me go ahead and double check here. 90 minus 42.8. Yeah, 47.2. So that's my answer for my second angle over there. So find the measure. I could even write it in right here, 47.2. And how do I know? Because I solved my equation, or I could always double check and say 47.2 plus 42.8 should equal 90 degrees. All right, number 4, find the measurement of angle 2. Oh, it says the measurement of angle 2 is 65.6 degrees. This angle right here, it says is 65.6 degrees. We need to figure out the other angle. Well, I know that a straight line is equal to 180 degrees, and this is 0 over here. So if I already have 65.6, I can subtract that from 180. And if I were to write an equation, it would look like this. 180 is equal to 65.6 plus x. Angle 1 is my x value. Find the measure of angle 1. Well, let's go ahead and solve for our equation, solve for x. I want to subtract 65.6 from both sides. And if I do that, 180 minus 65.6 gives me 114.4 as my x value. And how do I know? Because I can actually take 114 and plug it in for my x value up there, right here. And if I do 114.4 plus 65.6, I will get 180. All right, next box. Question number 5 says, draw a picture to represent the situation below. Then write an equation and solve. All right, 2 angles are complementary. So, right here, complementary. Let's go over what that means. Complementary angles, if you'll remember at the very beginning, I'm going to go back a couple slides. We talked about it right here. Complementary angles, that's a pair of angles that has a sum of 90 degrees. That means when you add them together, they will equal 90 degrees. Sorry, I don't know why this is stalling. Perfect. Okay, so one of the angles measures 15 degrees. What's the measure of the second angle? If it helps, you can draw a picture, but what they're asking for here is for you to write an equation and solve it and draw a picture. So let's go ahead and draw a picture. I know I'm going to have a 90-degree angle, and one of the measures is 15 degrees, so I could just say this one is 15 degrees. What's the measure of the second angle? So I'm just going to put an X there. If I wanted to create an equation to solve this, I could say 90 degrees is equal to 15 plus X. And then we can go ahead and solve this by subtracting 15 from both sides. 90 minus 15, that gives me 75 equals X. So we've done everything that they asked. So 75 degrees is what X equals. All right, let's go ahead and do number 6. Angle ABE and angle DBE are supplementary. Supplementary, if you'll recall this, that is equal to two angles that when they're added together, they equal 180 degrees. Supplementary is two angles that equal 180 degrees. So if the measures of angle ABE, if the measure of angle ABE is 61 degrees, then what's the measure of angle DBE? So let's go ahead and just draw a straight line. It says one of the angles will be 61 degrees. And they just want to know the measurement of the other angle. If you want to label these, you are more than welcome to. Angle ABE is 61 degrees. ABE. And they want to know the measure of angle DBE. Oh, whoops, this one would be A. Not that it really matters. But they want to know the measurement of angle DBE. That is this angle right here. Well, how could we figure that out? If this is 61 degrees, we know that our straight line is 180. So what we could do for our equation is 180 is equal to 61 plus our X value. And then we just go ahead and solve. So I'm going to subtract 61 from both sides. Let's see what I end up getting. 180 minus 61 gives me 119 as my X value. 119 degrees, sorry. And then make sure you circle your answer. It makes it super easy for people to go ahead and grade that. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Vertical and adjacent angles. So angles are formed when two lines intersect. So you'll notice that we have two lines that are going to cross each other, and I'm going to give you a hint of something that I want you to pay attention about. Angle A and angle C, they are straight angles. They're right across from each other, or vertical angles, I think is what we call them. Anyways, you'll notice that they are directly opposite of each other. Angle A and angle C are equal angles, or in other words, they are congruent. So I'm going to say they're the same size. So angle A and angle C are congruent. That being said, let's use a different color. Angle B and angle D are also congruent. They are the same size. or you could say equal. They are also equal. So what do you notice about the sum of all four angles above? If I were to add up this angle, plus this angle, plus this angle, plus this angle, it creates a circle, which is 360 degrees. Or you could say that's from 0 to 180, that's 180 degrees. And then from this angle to this angle, that's another 180 degrees. And 180 plus 180, that equals 360 degrees. That's just something interesting to note for right now. All right, so two types of special angles are formed when two lines intersect. Use the picture above and the table to help you define and describe these types of angle pairs. Vertical angles. Those are pairs of opposite angles formed by intersecting lines. Let me give you an example here. Opposite angles would be like angle A and C. Those are opposite of each other. And we call those vertical angles because they are opposite of each other. Also, angles D and B are opposite of each other. We call those vertical angles as well. So let's go ahead and write that down in our notes. And they are also congruent. We did write that down. The next one is adjacent angles. And I've said this in class, so if you were in class, you heard me say this. But adjacent means, if I said turn to the person adjacent to you, that would mean turn to the person on to the side of you. So adjacent means just directly next to. So adjacent angles are two angles that share a common side and a common vertex. A vertex is the center or the point. I'm going to show you an example. These are also known as supplementary angles, so you might see some familiar things. If I had angle A and I wanted to find another angle that is directly next to it, I could say, oh, I notice angle B shares a side with it, and it also shares a vertex. They both share a vertex. These are supplementary angles. They are also known as adjacent angles. I'm going to show you another adjacent angle. Angle D and angle A. These two angles right here are also adjacent angles, and they are supplementary. You'll notice that they share a side and they also share a vertex. There's so many different examples you could use right here. I'm going to erase it and show you another one while we're on the screen. Let's use something fun. Angle B and angle C. Those two are supplementary. They are also adjacent. That means they are side by side. You'll notice that they share a side wall right here, and they share a vertex, so right there in the center. Let's go ahead and just write some down as an example. I could say angles A and B. Those are examples of adjacent angles. Also angles C and D. We also call these supplementary angles. Sorry if you can't read that. All right, let's move on to the next one. So use what you know about intersecting lines to label the missing angles in the picture below. Well, this is kind of what we talked about. I know that this angle right here is 148 degrees, and exactly opposite is a vertical angle. That means these are going to match. They are going to be the exact same angle. So the angle measurement is going to be 148 degrees. And the angle pair, we call this vertical angles. All right, on number 2, this one, let's use blue. We're measuring 35 degrees, and we're also measuring that x value right there. Notice the straight line that creates a line of 180 from 0 to 180. That's also known as supplementary. The angle pair, we call these adjacent angles. Notice that they are sharing a side wall together, and they also share the same vertex. So to find this, we could do 180 is equal to 35 degrees plus our x value, and let's go ahead and solve to see what that missing side length is, or that missing angle is. 180 minus 35 gives me 145 as my x value, so that tells me this angle is 145 degrees. And I can go ahead and write that in where it says x is equal to 145 degrees. All right, next page. Use your understanding of angle relationships to set up and solve an equation. So we need to set up and solve an equation to find the missing angle measures. Now, when number 3 is telling me that this angle is 117 degrees, that means the entire span of this angle is 117 degrees. They give me, let's highlight this, they give me 94 degrees as my first angle. We need to find the value of the second angle to help us equal 117 degrees. So let's set up an equation. I could say 117 is equal to 94 plus x, and now we go ahead and solve. Subtract 94 from both sides. And I do 117 minus 94 gives me 23. So 23 is equal to x. That means this value right here is 23 degrees. So value of x is 23 degrees. So my angle measures are 23 degrees. The other angle that's measured up here is 94 degrees. So I'm going to write that one down as well. Let's do question number 4. It says, ooh, this one looks a little tricky. We're measuring the entire angle, and it's 141 degrees. And then it says 141 degrees is going to be equal to our value of 2x plus another x. That will equal 141. So let's say 2x plus 1x, or just plus x. Now if I want to solve for x, I'm going to have to combine my 2x and my 1x together, because right now there's too much going on. So 2x's plus 1x, that equals 3x. Now that I look at my equation, I see that 3 is being multiplied to the x, and I need to get rid of that 3. So I'm going to do the opposite of multiply. I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides to cancel that 3 out, and now I'm just left with x. So 141 divided by 3, I think that gives us 47. Yes, so our x value is equal to 47 degrees. That is this value right here. 47 degrees is our angle for right here. But you'll notice over here, our x value is being multiplied by 2. So to get that angle measurement of this larger angle, I'm going to do 2 times my x value, which is 47. And if I do that, we will get 94 degrees. So the bigger angle is 94 degrees, and the smaller angle is 47 degrees. Let's go ahead and write that down. All right, and for question number 5, we need to write an equation. Notice that we have right here vertical angles. So 3x and 20 are opposites of each other. That tells me that they are the same exact measurement. So I can set them up in an equation equal to each other. I can say 3x is equal to 20, and now I can go ahead and solve. We'll use orange. Okay, notice 3 is being multiplied to the x, and we just want the x by itself, so let's do the opposite of multiply. Let's divide both sides by 3. And if I do 20 divided by 3, I get 6.6 repeated That's what my x value equals, 6.6 repeated. So my angle measures, if I were to plug in 6.6 up there, times 3, I will get 20. So the measure of my first angle is 20, and the measure of my second angle is also 20 degrees. All right, let's go on to the next question. Angle relationship allow us to determine any unknown angle measures. All angles around a point or vertex will always have a sum of 360 degrees. Let's take a look at what that means. Our example or directions say set up and solve equations to find the missing angle measurements. Find the missing angle measurements in each of the following. Okay, so let's use what we know already. I see I have an angle of 60 degrees, an angle of 40 degrees, and they say find the measurement of angle K. Well, angle K is right here. Now I notice that's like the same thing as 0 to 180 degrees between all three of these. 60 plus 40 gives me 100, and now I'm just left to find K. Let's go ahead and write an equation for this. If I add up 60 degrees plus 40 degrees plus the angle K, that will equal 180 degrees. 60 plus 40 gives me 100 degrees, plus I need the angle of K to equal 180 degrees. Let's solve for K. I need to subtract 100 degrees on both sides, and I'm left with the angle of K is equal to 80 degrees. So that's our answer for part B. 80 degrees right here is what our measurement of angle K is going to be. All right, if we were to write an equation, it's saying on part D, we need to find the measurement of angle M. Oh, this one is interesting. I'm going to go ahead and erase this just so I have more room to work with. And I'm going to erase all of this stuff. All right, we know that the measurement of angle K is 80 degrees. Right here. And we need to find the measurement of angle M. These are supplementary angles. Pretend this is 0 and this is 180. We have a straight line. Part of our angle creates 80 degrees. We need to figure out what the rest is going to be. So what you can do is 180 is equal to 80 degrees plus our angle M. Or you could say plus X. And let's go ahead and try solving. I'm going to subtract 80 from both sides, and I will get 100 is equal to my angle M. That means angle M is 100 degrees. Is it true that if I add these together, that 100 plus 80 equals 180? Yes, that is correct. What that means is we did our work correctly because we know that we need to have our angles added up to 180 because 180 is a straight line. So your degrees for angle M is 180 degrees. Let's go ahead and do number 7. I'm going to erase the work that I just did over here. Angle 7, we need to find the measurement for angle G. So here's G. Ooh, looking at this, I know that this angle right here is 90 degrees. I'm just going to go ahead and write it in. I know it's 90 degrees because of this little square in the bottom. And then our last little measurement over here says it's 32 degrees, and I know that because it's labeled 32 degrees. So if I do 32 degrees plus 90 degrees plus my angle of G, that will tell me, well, they all need to equal 180 because we have a straight line here. They all need to equal 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and combine 32 plus 90, and then we will subtract that number from 180. 32 plus 90 gives me 122. And we just want to solve for our angle G. So let's subtract 122 from both sides. 180 minus 122 gives us 58. So 58 is what angle G is equal to. 58 degrees. All right, now let's use a different color, orange. We need to figure out what the measurement of angle J is going to be. Angle J is right here. Oh, I'm noticing that they create a straight line. Angle J and angle G create a straight line. Angle G is 58 degrees. I just need to figure out what this angle is. 58 plus what will give me 180. If I were to write out an equation for that, let's create some space right here. I would say 180 is equal to 58 plus x. And then we could go ahead and solve. And if you do, you will get 122 degrees. Now let's do number 8. We are supposed to solve for the measurement of angle Z. And that is right here. If I continue in a straight line, I know this angle's 29. No, I don't think I can do that one. Oh, let's erase. What I do see here is a straight line where I do have a bunch of values. I have 112 degrees for this part is 112, and I have 90 degrees for this part. I just need to figure out what Z is. If I add all of those together, I should be able to get 180 degrees. So I'm going to say 180 is equal to 29 plus 112 plus my angle Z. Let's go ahead and work all of this out. 29 plus 112 gives me 141. So I'm going to say 141 plus the measurement of angle Z is going to equal 180. If I want to solve this, I need to get angle Z all by itself, so I'm going to subtract 141 from both sides. 180 minus 141 gives me 39. Let's use a different color here. So this canceled out, and I'm left with the measurement of angle Z is equal to 39 degrees. That is, this measurement right here is 39 degrees. And once again, I know that because in a straight line, you go from 0 to 180. I know that 112 plus 39 plus 29, when I add them all together, they need to equal 180. So I could put my answer here of 39 degrees. Okay, and that is it for today. If you have questions about this lesson, after you've watched this video, please come and talk to me. Thank you.